Today we're going down to Town Hall to interview some Sheffield IONs about the independent retailers on Devonshire Street closing.
As we approached the Town Hall, we became aware of a notable police presence.
The protests outside the Town Hall grew gradually, and those supporting the cause carried signs signalling their adoration for the shops at risk. A number of media outlets were present at the event, in the form of journalists and photographers, to cover this story.
We soon realised just how important the imminent decision was to the people of Sheffield.
I think it's a good turnout. I think it's going to get a bit bigger as the day goes on. So far it's quite busy.
How many people?
About 150 so far, 200. We wanted to know why so many individuals from all over Sheffield felt so negatively about the plans to demolish the Devonshire Street buildings.
My vision of Sheffield is as a destination where people come from other cities and see independent trading and search out quirky shops, the unusual, interesting shops in the city, enjoy it. I'm sure people don't come to Sheffield to just go and see another coffee shop up the way.
I just wanted to make my voice known about they're just trying to corporatise everything and get rid of the independent shops just for extra rent money, you know.
I've only lived in Sheffield for 3 years. I moved here from Portsmouth, where this sort of redevelopment has pretty much wiped out the entire city already.
Well, they'll put the price up so it'll only be certain independent shops. There'll probably be one or two, and it'll all be corporate things like Pizza Express and things like that.
It's like planners who think that is going to do any good to the city centre, removing that independent sector, living in cloud cuckoo land.
The council's power to make the decisions is entirely theirs. They're completely at liberty to ignore the planner's recommendation.
And every city centre becomes the same, it just becomes another copy of the same thing.
Let's keep that shop, whatever it takes.
Us creative people in the city, we're the ones who create the dynamics in the city that's going to take it forward.
A Coda employee who didn't want to be filmed explained his stance on the situation. He suggested the campaigners were lacking full awareness of the matter.
We're actually demolishing the existing building, but it's going to replace exactly brick for brick as it is. So a lot of these people are very unaware of that.
Will the same shops go back?
They're worried. The same shops leases are up. They don't want to renew the leases.
They're worried that in the time that it takes to demolish it, the people who own those businesses they're going to lose their money. Their livelihood anyway. Yeah.
As we gathered our thoughts on the day's events so far, we found ourselves in the middle of an attempt by a group of protesters to gain entry into the council meeting.
Right, yeah, what we're doing is
we're storming the building.
About 8 people so far have gone in, but they haven't got into the actual room. They were just escorted into a holding room, and they were told that the room itself was at capacity, but apparently it has a capacity of about 150 people, and we've only seen about 10 people go in there, so we're going to come and question that.
Oh, that's all right.
One member of the protest group led a renewed effort to make it into the council meeting room before being stopped by security.
It's up here. Which isn't. All right. Can we want...
Jackie, excuse me, everybody. No, you've got to go down now.
Yo.
We are stopping this.
If anybody wants to go into the council chamber, which is a waiting area, you can go in there. Planning meeting's full.
And if it's full, can we just verify
that it's full?
You can't, because they're having a meeting. You can't just go barging in.
We don't believe that it's full. We don't believe that it's full.
We don't believe it.
We don't believe it.
Ladies and gentlemen, if you don't make this full, let's...
That's assault. You've just assaulted this lady.
Not physically.
One lady told of her frustration at the council and their supposed disorganisation with regard to the council meeting.
And at the moment I do believe we're not allowed into the meeting, but it isn't capacity. believe it really isn't to capacity, and they just don't want the rest of us in there.
Have you been in that room before, did you say?
I believe I have for another meeting to stop some building, and it's a very large room.
Do you feel it's wrong that they represent us, but we're actually not allowed to see?
There's too much of that goes on in Sheffield Council. Myself, I have had quite a lot of experience with getting in touch with them about all sorts of things, and I live in a council flat myself.
Do you feel the council represent you as a person?
No, they don't.
Is it just this situation or a numerous?
Many situations, things seem to be overrode a lot.
We've managed to get into the actual chamber where they're having the meeting after loads of debate and quite aggressive behaviour. We've managed to get in. So we're going to film it, see if they really are representing the people's voice.
In the meeting, there was a clear crowd bias as each statement by those objecting the development plans was met with applause, while the CODA representative, Adam Murray, was jeered.
There's a lot of independent business will come a lot of the character of this area. Whilst it's true that buildings can be rebuilt with an aesthetically sympathetic facade, it is but that, a facade. This argument is not about protecting 3 independent Sheffield businesses, however important they may be, but about doing what's right in the interest of Sheffield and its inhabitants.
Thank you, Chair. Just a few points of clarity to start us off. Prime Site purchased this site only a couple of years ago, and at the time they asked the current shop owners to take up new leases. The Natural Bed Shop wasn't interested in a new lease and is actively looking for new premises. Rare and Racy have been wanting out of this building for a long, long time, and I know that's not what the people want to hear, but it's unfortunately true.
Can people be quiet, please, and you've had your chance to speak. Would you please let this other person speak?
It was said on Radio Sheffield before.
With legal agreement. Can I see all those in favour? And again, with one abstention. That is carried, thank you. We'll just take a short adjournment while we change around.
The councillors have just voted to say that they are going to demolish the buildings and rebuild them, so the public's in outrage.
Yeah, the public's outraged. A few people have said that they'll remember it in May, so it's up to the councillors now.
Excuse me, do you think there's a problem that the people of Sheffield aren't being represented by the councillors?
After Labour councillor Ibra Hussain initially chose not to respond to the questioning, he and fellow councillors Bob Johnson and Roy Munn eventually gave their side of the argument for why they voted in favour of the demolition.
The planning board, one reason under planning law were brought forward as an objection.
We have to make these decisions on planning grounds. It's not political or anything else. We've got to have sound planning reasons because the applicant can go to the appeal, and that is the problem.
If we'd have just gone with public majority there and just said, right,
can't be under pressure, it's got to be done
we're
properly.
not going to accept that report, and those guys then appeal, that would have brought a cost to £60,000-70,000 to the city, in addition to the application still going through. So,
is that not worth it? Those £60,000 not worth it to keep the same feel of the city? I mean, like you say, it's a quirky area.
In that anyway, it would have still got passed. The application would have still gone through. Plus, the city would have.
The applicant can go to the independent inspector for the appeal. An inspector could overrule this. So we will be back to square one. We understand that. We understand the petition of 18,000 plus, taking that in consideration very seriously. But however, we've got to work by the planning rules and guidelines that are set there.
After hearing of the council members' reasons for their vote, we decided to go to Devonshire Street to get a feel for the businesses at risk and try to understand the thoughts of those who shop at them. We found that to one customer, the demolition would mean more than just the loss of a historic building.
Yeah, I think it's a huge loss, or it will be if it goes ahead. If there's no possibility of overturning it, it'd be a terrible loss for music and art in Sheffield. And Sheffield's known around the world for for its music and for its art scene, and places like this are absolutely critical for incubating new art. To keep an art scene alive, you have to have constant input and sort of new ideas coming through, and you need somewhere where they can ferment, and places like this are just critical to that, and there's nowhere else I know like it.
After listening to what the Moustache Man had to say, we came to realise much of what he had to say was true. There are not many other places within Sheffield like Rare and Racy. With its homely feel and endearing rooms, it truly is unique.
It's now the day after the council meeting, where plans to demolish these 3 buildings were approved. So we're going to sort of go around the back, because one of the reasons that they had for demolishing the buildings was that there's quite a bit of mess around the back of them. So like, as you can see, there is a bit of a rundown patch. And if you come round here and look there, this is the area that was spoken about, and it was mentioned to be a bit of a hot spot for homeless people. Yeah, there's plastic and drinks bottles around here, and wicker basket, and there's a quilt there.
The derelict area at the back of the building suggests the need for change is required in some form. Despite the addition of artwork on the wall at the back of the building, scattered rubbish makes the area an eyesore.
To show up for duty and serve this woman and honor her beauty, and finally you have found something perfect, and finally you have found yourself with me. Will you?
I think it's important to have places like this in Sheffield, because there is the vintage shops in Sheffield, but like this one up here for men especially, there's not much for men. It's quite specialist, and we'll do quite one-off items, quite rare items, like almost like some stuff that we've had through here that's been sold to different shops throughout London, Japan, places like that. You know, they're almost like museum artefacts, like they are super rare, like one-offs. So it's I think that's quite an important thing for Sheffield and for culture.
The contrast between the talent and artistic craft within the shops and their ugly backyard is impressive.
I mean, this is actually the first time we've seen it as well, and it is actually definitely a nice work of art, and it'd be a shame, really. A little bit sad.
We wanted to learn more about the argument for protecting the Devonshire Street building, so we spoke to Nick Roscoe, who described himself as Hallamshire Heritage Preserver. Nick is a leading figure in the organisation of the protest and is currently working on an appeal against the council's decision.
If you go to the bottom of Derbyshire Lane,
okay,
and then turn right, and then immediately turn right again, so it's almost as if you went back up on yourself.
I mean, that's what's so amusing about this case, is that I don't see any obvious benefits whatsoever to this. The economic implications for this going ahead are negative, because firstly, the most important one, and this is based in national planning policy, first one is that the impression that it gives of Sheffield Council that they're not able to spot what's important about their city, what they should be guarding and making the most of, which is what makes it unique, you know, and what makes it characterful, and the thing that people, especially people in Sheffield, know about. But actually, if Sheffield was a bit better at marketing itself, then, you know, other people would want to come to Sheffield to find out about us as well. Yeah. By challenging the application, all that you can ever achieve is to reset the planning process, so that basically things just go back to square one. The owner could still, if they wanted, could still put in another application and try again to do just the same thing. But hopefully, almost certainly at that stage in this case, we'll think, forget it, it's just not worth it.